Hey everyone, this is Daniela Tempesta, and today I wanted to talk to you about the way in which oftentimes it's not so much the events of our lives that cause us discomfort, but rather the stories we tell ourselves about those events that are the source of our pain. And this is something that comes up all the time in my discussions with clients, and it came up several times this week. So I wanted to share a few examples of this with you in the hopes that perhaps you can look at some of the stories you are telling yourself that may be causing you more pain than they need to. So one example that came up was a client of mine who has a coworker that she has to collaborate with frequently on several projects. And whenever she goes over to speak with this coworker, he doesn't take his headphones out of his ears. He just continues to have the conversation with her, even though he's still listening to music or a podcast, or we don't know what he's listening to, but he doesn't take them out. And this makes her feel really upset, and she was talking about it in session, and she wanted to know, why is this wearing on me so much? Why do I even care that this person isn't taking his headphones out? So much so that I'm even talking about it in session today. And I simply asked her, what's the story you're telling yourself? What is the story that you tell yourself about why he doesn't take his headphones out? And she said, well, actually, it makes me feel like he doesn't care what I have to say. He doesn't like working with me. He doesn't value my time. So it makes sense, right, that if we felt like somebody didn't value us or respect us, that we would get really upset and frustrated to the point where she was not wanting to go talk to him anymore to collaborate on their projects. And now this is really getting in the way of things that she needs to do. But if we redact the story and we just look at the facts are he doesn't take his headphones out. We don't know why. We don't know what it means. We just know that he doesn't take them out. That is annoying, but it's not a threat, right? So we can ask ourselves the question, is this a nuisance or a threat? And in this case, it's really just a nuisance. It's not something that needs to set off our threat system and for us to say, we need to defend ourselves, this is dangerous. It's really not. We need to stick to the facts. Here's another example that came up this week, which has to do with unpaid bills, something that is never fun to tackle, but that we all must do. So I have a client who has a stack of bills on her desk that need to be paid. She has the financial means to pay them, but she just hasn't been able to get to it. Every time she looks over at her desk, she gets overwhelmed and walks away. And I asked her, well, what's the story you're telling yourself about these bills? I wanted to understand why it was so hard for her to go and just do it. And she said, well, whenever I look at the bills, I just think to myself, oh my goodness, I'm so incompetent. What's wrong with me? Why have I let such a big pile develop on my desk? I'm not capable of taking care of myself. I'm irresponsible. And, how am I going to ever raise a family if I'm this irresponsible? So we see how quickly something as simple as bills turned into a story about how incompetent and incapable she was, and how that was then going to impact things that she wanted for her future. And so if that was the story that I was hearing in my head about how I'm never going to even be able to have the things I want in the future because I'm so incompetent, if that was the story I was hearing in my head every time I was going to go sit down and pay bills, I wouldn't want to pay bills either. I would also avoid them. So if we redact the story here and we just stick to the facts are there's a stack of unpaid bills. They need to get paid. They haven't been paid yet. End of story. No additional dialogue about what this means about you for not paying them. So again, this is something that's annoying. It's a nuisance, but it doesn't need to set off our alarm, our threat system, because it doesn't mean all of those things about us. But when we don't stick to the facts, these stories can really harm us and get in the way of us being able to do things that are important to us and that, frankly, help us just function in the rest of our lives. So I really encourage you to look at some areas in your life where you're experiencing some discomfort, or maybe you're engaging in some avoidance, and ask yourself, what is the story I'm telling myself about this event or about this thing that I need to do? And then redact the story. What are the facts? When we look at the facts, ask yourself, is this a nuisance or is this a threat? And really see if you can peel that story away and just stick with what's there. And hopefully that will allow you to move forward in a different kind of way. I would love to hear about any examples that you have of ways you're able to identify the story and pull it back. You can share those stories with me via email, on Facebook, or on Twitter at Tempesta LCSW. I look forward to hearing from you. Take care and good luck.